Okay, so I am going to demonstrate how I sew fold over elastic on a cover. I'm using the Rocket Bottoms in a Snap cover pattern. Now you can start your elastic anywhere. Some people find it easier to start on the edge where it'll be covered up by the wing of the diaper when you're all done. For professional reasons, I like to start in the center of the back, but wherever you start, you need to make 3 marks. One of these marks is going to be where your elastic will be sewn together. So it's the seam of your start and your stop point. That's the center one. From there, I made a mark 2 inches over on either side. You're going to take your elastic and just make a mark on it. Don't leave your marking pen on the other side of the room. You want to give yourself at least 2 inches. I like a little bit more because this is going to be what you sew down to your ending point. So I have a handy little ruler here. There's 3 inches. So what I'm going to do is I am going to fix this down. Now on mine, this is my Snap, reinforcer. I've used the back side of a solid brown so that it can be a wipeable cover. I've just used basting spray on this. You can use clips or pins or whatever you need to attach it so that it's not going to move when you're putting on your elastic. So you want to line up the mark you made on your elastic with the mark you made on your diaper. That's going to be your sewing start point. I'm using the clover clips. I love these. They're a lifesaver. Use whatever you have on hand. But you'll need to secure it down with something because you need both hands for some of these parts. Okay, I'm sorry if you can't see everything that I'm doing. This is an awkward tripod situation. Okay, so it's close, and I'm a perfectionist. There we go. And there we go. You will want to match your thread, top and bottom, to your elastic as best as possible. That way, if you make a mistake, it might hide it a little bit. Okay, so I'm setting my machine on my 3-point zigzag. I like to use a wide zigzag, so my stitch length is 2.5. And my stitch width is 5. That's the maximum it can go. So I line this up on my start point. You're going to center your elastic right in here so that it's kind of just centered underneath your presser foot. Now, if you're just doing this for the first time, you might not want to start and stop on the back because you will start and stop stretching. You might want to start on a spot where you're not stretching. For myself, this is where I like to start. So I have my elastic stop point marked out with a washable marker, and now I'm just going to stretch the elastic. You don't want to stretch it to its fullest stretch. You want to stretch it out, see where it feels like it's snug. And hold it down. I hold it down with my left hand. That gives my right hand free to pull it in the back. I want to pull from the front and back as I'm sewing. Okay, so we're done with that first elastic little bit, and now we don't pull on the elastic at all. This is a straight point and you just want to sew it down. Okay, now we're coming to the first curve, which can be a little bit tricky if you're not used to it. Don't worry, it's not going to be perfectly flat. Lift your presser foot up with the needle in the fabric and just kind of work the elastic around your curve and do a few stitches at a time. Adjust, always adjust with the needle in the fabric. And you want to put the fabric right up against the seam of the elastic, right there in the middle. As best as you can on the corners. It's not always possible. Go ahead and take your time. If you have a machine with an adjustable sewing speed, I suggest using it for your first time. Okay, next curve. This one is a little bit tighter, so sometimes I pull the fold over elastic on the lower curve just a little bit when I'm sewing it to help straighten it out. Stop every few stitches and adjust as needed. Alright, we want to keep adjusting. We want to make sure that we're not sewing off the edge. We want to make sure that our fabric is getting sandwiched between the layers of the elastic. Okay, now we've reached the leg elastic for our first spot. So again, stop with your needle in the fabric, pull it towards you gently, not all the way, somewhere between all the way and, I don't know. You'll get the hang of it. Feel free to stretch it, play with it. It likes it. If you're doing fold over elastic on more than one layer, sometimes it helps to lift it up and make sure you've caught both layers in the elastic. Don't sew your fingers down. That would be bad. Now, right here, I don't know, okay, down near the bottom corner, I'm getting to where my backing is ready to be sewn down. So I'm going to put my fingers there while I'm stretching the elastic so that I know it gets caught. And pull from behind and sew. Remove my clip. Figure out how to hold the fabric so that it feels comfortable. Okay, now I've got 2 layers down there. I want to check and make sure I'm catching both of them. Alright. Now we're coming to the end, which means a little bit of a curve. That's not a big deal. The natural inclination of the fabric and the pattern is to pull away from the center. Just shove it in there. You don't want it to fold over on itself, though. And keep going until you get to the other end, where you've already marked your elastic points. And there we go for me. Lift your presser foot and adjust for your next curve. Alright. Adjust. Now we're on a straight area, so I want to make sure that it's right there up against the center. Sometimes on a curve, when you're coming out of it, you can pull the fabric away from the center of the elastic without knowing. And it's difficult. It can be difficult to get it back in the center. Now going around the corner. I don't have my snaps in yet. When I do a cover like this, I put my snaps in last. It makes it easier to sew around the edges, so I'm not worrying about the snaps getting in the way of my foot. I'm on a straight section now, so it goes a little bit quicker. We're coming into the curve. Make a few stitches and adjust. I really love this pattern because the curves on the tummy panel are very gentle, and it is perfect with fold over elastic. You get nice smooth edges. Some other patterns I've used have tighter curves, and I end up with folding the fold over elastic basically. Nothing wrong with that. I just prefer the look of flat. Alright, now this is going to be a tricky little curve. I may end up sewing. No, it looks like it came out flat. We'll peek when it comes out the other side. Alright, get it snug up against the center. Go around your curve. Oh, we did good. Okay, we're coming to our next elastic point. And it's a good spot. Stretch it out. Not too much, not too little. I really hate to be so vague, but it is really something that you learn over time. What is the perfect stretch? And the stretch can really affect the fit of the diaper. Too much, and you're going to have a smaller item. Alright, halfway done with that. Now we are back to a single layer. This is all just repetition that we did on the other side. Almost done. Alright, there we go. Straight part. Smush it in there. Sometimes, if you're using a light colored elastic with a printed pull, you can see the print through the elastic, so you'll know if it's all the way up against the edge. Alright, this one's going to be tricky. There we go. Last curve. Now, you may notice that I'm stopping before the actual curve to adjust for the next bit. You want to adjust in advance, almost like you do for a serger. Okay, so we're getting to the end of our cover. Alright, last bit of elastic. What we're going to do here is we're going to pull from our elastic point to the mark we made earlier. That's our stop point. So stretch the elastic out if you're doing it in the back like I did. Don't stretch it if you're not in a stretchy area. Okay, so I'm stopping here. I'm going to do a couple of back stitches to secure my thread. Now, what I want to do while this is still in my machine with the needle down is take my marker and I'm going to pull the elastic as much as I would pull while I'm doing the leg elastic. This will give me where my seam needs to be. So hold it down with my left hand, and with my marker, my washable marker, I just mark directly on the elastic where my seam needs to be. And I take my scissors and I cut that, giving about an inch. You don't have to leave so much. I like lots of room. It's a little more difficult to get that same measurement on the other side, and I have a kind of awkward way of doing it. I have to put the pen in my mouth to get the right stretch. But I don't think I'm going to do that this time. Alright, so I can, there we go, that's holding it down. Little mark. All the way across, front and back. Okay. Now, take your project off your machine. Cut your threads if you are so inclined. And change your machine to a straight stitch. We're going to sew the elastic together. I have mine set at a length of 3. Needle position is good. Just marking on the back. Alright. Now, you are going to take your ends, and line up those 2 marks you made, right sides together. This is why I like to leave 2 inches of space. Stick some pins in there, and you are just going to sew back and forth a few times right on top of those lines you made. Alright. Please ignore that line that went off to the side. I don't know what it was doing. Okay. Now, you will get the scissors that actually cut through the elastic and trim your seam allowance. I do mine in a little curve. You can do yours however you want. Turn your elastic over, open up your seam allowance, and you're going to line it up with that center mark you made. I hold mine down with a clip. Hair clips work. So what you're looking at now is this is where you started sewing, and this is where you stopped. There's your center line. So when you start, you want to put your needle back in right there. Change back to your 3-step zigzag. down. I want to sew a few stitches. Now I want to stretch it out and push my fabric into the elastic. Take my clip off, stretch it from the front and the back. And a couple of stitches here. Take it out. Cut your threads. And now is when you can add your snaps. And then, oh, see, now I made a mistake. It didn't catch right here. If this were a diaper I was going to sell, time for the seam ripper. Make sure yours catches.